Imagine waking up tomorrow and your phone no longer updates. Your electric car order gets delayed indefinitely. AI systems slow down. And behind closed doors, the US military quietly scrambles. Not because of China, not because of Russia, but because one country, rarely mentioned in tech headlines, stopped working. That country is Malaysia. For decades, the world believed power lived in Silicon Valley, Taiwan, and Beijing. But hidden deep inside the global supply chain is a bottleneck so critical that if it breaks, modern technology itself begins to fail. Smartphones, data centers, electric vehicles, even advanced weapon systems. And the most disturbing part, most people have no idea this country exists in the equation. You're going to see why Malaysia has quietly become one of the most strategically important nations on Earth, and why its rise is making the Pentagon extremely uncomfortable. Because if Malaysia ever stops being quiet, the consequences would be global. For decades, the global tech story sounded simple. Silicon Valley designs, Taiwan manufactures, China assembles. But that story is incomplete, because there's a critical step in modern technology that almost nobody talks about. A step so specialized that without it, even the most advanced chip in the world is useless. That step happens in Malaysia. Today, Malaysia sits at the center of a fragile system powering smartphones, data centers, electric vehicles, artificial intelligence, and military hardware. A single disruption here doesn't just slow the world down, it breaks it. And this isn't a theory. In 2021, one factory incident in Malaysia quietly disrupted global car production for months without most consumers ever knowing why. That was the warning shot. Now, both Washington and Beijing are paying attention. Here are 10 reasons why Malaysia has quietly become one of the most strategically important countries on the planet. Reason 1. The ghost of British engineering. Malaysia's tech dominance didn't start with silicon chips. It started with maps, ports, and railways built centuries ago. When the British established Penang in 1786, they weren't thinking about semiconductors. They were building one of the most efficient logistics hubs in Asia. Deep water ports, reliable trade routes, precision infrastructure. That foundation never disappeared. So when American tech companies began expanding into Asia, they didn't start from scratch. They followed the infrastructure. In 1972, 6 years before Shenzhen even existed, Intel opened operations in Penang. Not because Malaysia was cheap, but because it was reliable. That decision quietly shaped the next 50 years. Reason 2. The multilingual advantage nobody talks about. Technology doesn't fail only because of machines. It fails because of miscommunication. Malaysia has something rare in the modern world. A workforce fluent in Malay, English, Mandarin, Tamil, and regional dialects. This makes Malaysian engineers something incredibly valuable. Cultural translators. They don't just move data. They translate expectations between American executives, Chinese suppliers, Japanese standards, and European regulators. Malaysia ranks 26th globally in English proficiency, higher than China, Japan, and South Korea. In a world where one misunderstanding can delay a billion-dollar project, that fluency is power. Reason 3. The silent tax haven for tech giants. Malaysia doesn't attract tech giants with headlines. It attracts them with math. Companies operating in Malaysia can receive up to 100% tax exemptions for 10 years, zero tax on certain offshore income, and significantly lower operational costs than Singapore. But there's something even more valuable than tax breaks. Stability without baggage. Malaysia offers a pro-business environment without being politically radioactive. That's why companies like Intel, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon Web Services have all expanded quietly and aggressively inside the country. No drama, no sanctions, no spotlight, just scale. Reason 4. Chip packaging, the unglamorous gold mine. This is where things get dangerous. When people talk about chips, they talk about Taiwan's fabrication, South Korea's memory, America's design. But chips don't work straight out of the factory. They must be tested, assembled, and packaged. Without this step, a chip is just fragile silicon. And Malaysia controls over 50% of the world's chip testing and packaging capacity. This isn't low-skill work. It's hyper-specialized, capital-intensive, and deeply experience-based, which means you can't just move it somewhere else. The Pentagon knows this because many U.S. weapon systems depend on components that are packaged and tested in Malaysia. If that process stops, even briefly, entire defense supply chains freeze. This is what keeps strategists awake at night. Reason 5. The data center arms race. While Singapore ran out of space, Malaysia saw an opening. Today, Malaysia is becoming Asia's data fortress. Why? Because it has cheap renewable energy, political stability, direct access to undersea fiber routes, and vast amounts of affordable land. By 2025, Malaysia is projected to surpass Singapore in operational data center capacity. Microsoft and Google aren't building here for fun. They're building because AI needs power, land, and silence. And Malaysia offers all three. Reason 6. The brain gain strategy, the reverse talent heist. For years, Malaysia lost talent to Silicon Valley. Now it's taking it back through programs like the Returning Expert Program. Highly skilled Malaysians are offered tax incentives, career fast-tracking, and competitive salaries relative to local costs. Post-COVID, remote work changed everything. Thousands of engineers realized they could bring Silicon Valley experience, global networks, and cutting-edge knowledge back home at a fraction of the cost. This isn't a brain drain anymore. It's a brain heist. Reason 7. Neutral ground in a world at war. As the US and China tear global supply chains apart, Malaysia has done something rare. It stayed neutral. Malaysia hosts American defense-linked manufacturers and Chinese tech giants like Huawei at the same time. It trades with both, grows with both, and benefits from both. In semiconductor geopolitics, Malaysia has become the Switzerland of Asia. And neutrality right now is priceless. Reason 8. Islamic finance meets hard tech. Here's a twist most analysts miss. Malaysia is the global leader in Islamic finance, a $3 trillion industry. Capital from Gulf states looking beyond oil is flowing into green energy, semiconductor parks, and advanced manufacturing. This money doesn't come with Washington's conditions, and it doesn't come with Beijing's strings. It's a third pillar of power. Quiet, patient, and massive. Reason 9. The Pentagon's nightmare scenario. U.S. defense planners use a phrase they hate. Single point of failure. Malaysia is one of them. One fire, one flood, one geopolitical shock, and suddenly weapon systems stall. Supply chains fracture. Military readiness drops. Internal assessments already flag Malaysia as irreplaceable in defense electronics. China understands this too, which is why it's embedding itself slowly into Malaysia's tech ecosystem. Not loudly, strategically. Reason 10. Not the next Singapore, the next America. Malaysia isn't trying to copy Singapore. It's trying to do something bigger. With 33 million people, abundant land, renewable energy, and industrial ambition, its new Industrial Master Plan 2030 targets $70 billion annually from semiconductors. The goal isn't assembly. It's design, AI leadership, and technological sovereignty. The same path America once took. Malaysia hasn't just risen. It has already arrived. The only question now is whether the world notices or waits until the system breaks. If you found this eye-opening, subscribe for more deep dives like this, and let us know in the comments. Is Malaysia the future backbone of global technology or the world's most dangerous blind spot?